Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. Whatever part of the world you're currently listening to our podcast and video blog. Eventually, this is going to be converted into a podcast. Today's a very, very beautiful Saturday, 5 o'clock p.m. Date this, I'm not exactly sure the date. It's prior to Eastern Orthodox Easter celebration. So 13th, 14th, not really sure. So I apologize. I forgot to check my calendar for today's date. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a wonderful Saturday. And if you're able to walk and stretch your legs, I hope you do so, because this is so nice weather. I mean, it's been really nice actually the few couple of weeks into the springtime, and I'm able to walk, but this is probably one of the best days so far. It's breezy and mild, sunny, not too warm, not too cold, perfect weather. And so I was working on some projects. I decided to take a quick break, stretch my legs for about an hour or so and just enjoy the view, So I hope you guys are, like I said, having a wonderful Saturday, whatever part of the world you're currently listening to our video blog. My name's Al Mina, concept author of Faceconomics, the illustration of the social media platform in economic development worldwide. So if you guys celebrate Easter early last week, I hope you've had a wonderful Easter celebration. And then, like I was saying, this weekend is when the Eastern Orthodox religion tends to celebrate Easter. So I managed to actually partake in one of the celebration here in town. So I always enjoy these kinds of engagements. My background, actually, when I was born into a Catholic family just by tradition. Okay, I never really observed the Catholic faith per se, just because religion, when it is tied to a custom or tradition or culture, you don't really get the overall picture or the theology behind a religion. Sorry, it's a little loud here. I'm walking by the road, and so unfortunately I apologize. What I was saying is that once you're born into a religion, traditionally, culturally, and by family, you don't really get to learn the theology of a religion. So, like I was saying, I was born into a Catholic family. Both of my parents' families were with the Catholic faith until my mom's side decided to leave the church. But she did have some nuns in her family when she was growing up. And my father's side, they didn't have a lot of, religious officials or, figures in their family, but they were devout Catholics, especially my grandma, my dad's mom. She was definitely a devout Catholic. So, I was born into a Catholic family where I was baptized in a Catholic church just as an infant. And when I was growing up, my mom introduced us to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which was the church denomination that her family sided after leaving the Catholic Church. You know, because my mom raised us most of our younger years. So she introduced us to the Seventh-day Adventist faith up until I got involved with the Baptist denomination when I was in middle school. And from then on out, I started attending a Baptist church, which I really enjoyed. You know, I actually have gotten to understand the theology behind the church. It wasn't like that when I was an infant, and obviously when I was attending the Seventh-day Adventist, you know, church denomination, because I was too young to understand anything back then. So, yeah, was basically, you know, connecting with, what was I going to say? I was, you know, actually connecting with my peers and made some friends. Went to a Baptist university, played my violin for Jerry Falwell's orchestra, okay, as a volunteer community service kind of thing. So yeah, that was majority of my life was attending a Baptist church until I joined the U.S. Peace Corps and was sent to Eastern Europe. And from there, I tried to attend a Baptist church once, but you know, it was kind of a bit of a struggle because I wasn't fluent in the local language, and you know, I couldn't understand the majority of the things that was being said when I was attending a Baptist church at that time in Eastern Europe. So I kind of started looking around just so that I can immerse myself within the culture and you know, the people groups where I was at. So I did that for the first year, and you know, I enjoyed listening and learning about Byzantine, you know, culture and religion. So I started going and learning as much as I can about their faith, and up until when I actually learned a little bit of, you know, the local language, where I got to enjoy the overall theology of the, you know, Eastern European Orthodox Church. And what I've learned is that it's fairly similar to everybody or every religion that I've been influenced with, okay? And throughout my travels, I've gotten, you know, exposed to quite a bit of religion, tons of them. Just because, you know, not everybody practices the same religion in other countries that I've traveled to and visited and got to live in and worked in. So why am I telling you all this? Given that it's an Easter week, I thought I'd share some of my background, because, you know, most of you are familiar with my economic development and social media platform, but very few of you guys know what my religious background and, you know, experiences and exposure. So I just thought I'd talk about it a little. Nice, very nice, beautiful weather right now here at the park. Look at all this greenery, and look how blue the sky is. I mean, so it's such a blessing to be exposed to nature. You know, when my puppy mode, my baby girl was still strong and young, we would come out here and walk around. Look at all these Little squirrels. They're out and about, hopping around. Y'all see that? Nice little squirrels watching me do my video blog. See if we can get closer. Okay, they're getting spooked. Yeah. So do y'all have a squirrel population in your country? Let me know. I'm kind of curious. I'd like to enjoy nature with, animals, actually. The wild animals. They're pretty interesting to watch. Anyway, it looks like people are starting to trickle into the park now because it's just the perfect, beautiful weather, folks. I mean, like I was saying, this is probably one of the best days to be out and about walking. See some children over there at the skate park. When I was growing up, we didn't have, a concrete skate park like these. We had a wooden ramp, actually, when I was younger, when I was still in high school. This used to be the skate park and rink that has a wooden ramp up in there. So it's not as fun as it is today. It's much better now, and there's various levels for your skill set. If you're a skater, you're not just going to be jumping up on a ramp and do all your tricks without having to start from just learning to balance yourself on the board. So at least this ramp has various levels of skill, performances that you can actually practice and get good at. So what I was saying is that my background in religion, graduating from a Southern Baptist college, it's pretty, eye-opening in many ways, because we studied apologetics, we studied theology, obviously. We studied all sorts of beliefs and worldviews growing up at that university. When I say growing up, it's just because, I was just fresh out of high school when I went to Liberty University. So I ended up playing for Jerry Falwell's church, who was one of the biggest televangelists in the whole country. He basically built a behemoth of a university, and now it's kind of evolved into a small city almost. This consists of university buildings and dorms. So yeah, he was the founder of Liberty University, and I've gotten to know him as a person, just because I played for his orchestra, and from time to time we would kind of connect before or after the service, talk about politics, talk about everything that revolves around personal values and beliefs, because I guess he was kind of intrigued by my background, given that I'm not the typical Southern Baptist person. So we got to know each other. He introduced me to Virginia politics with obviously Christian beliefs and values, fully entrenched in it. So yeah, that's just my overall upbringing, I want to say, because I did stay in Lynchburg for a good I think close to 8 years. I attended university off and on. So some people picnicking and people playing basketball. So it's a beautiful day to be out right now. Go for a walk and throw some football. You just look how beautiful today is. It's so nice, you know. Like I said, it's a Saturday afternoon, and it's just perfect, you know. So what I was saying was basically he introduced me to Virginia politics and U.S. politics. This young guy, which, you know, at that time I was not that well vested. I didn't really want to be a politician. Didn't want to get involved with too much politics, but I kind of ended up just supporting various candidates, volunteering. I mean, I did that when I was in high school too. I don't know about politics. It's one of those things that just kind of sparked my interest, but it's not something that I wanted to do. Okay, definitely not wanted to be a politician up until I got back from Europe and started seeing how much, you know, Virginia and the country have deteriorated. So I decided to toss my name in the hat, and people mowed me down for my first run, and they're trying to mow me down again the second run, even though I'm not even a well-known politician. So what I was saying is, you know, I was a volunteer at Thomas Road Baptist Church, playing my violin with the orchestra, getting to know Dr. Falwell and getting exposed to, you know, the bigwigs of the Republican Party and all these people. But yeah, so I did not know. I had no idea that I'll be in politics later on in life. So it's just one of those things. Just kind of happened that way. And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful and thankful that I'm able to participate. All right, quick shout out. Iceman, hi. Iceman 7202. Geneva Rios, hello. Thanks for joining me on this Saturday afternoon, and you know, participating in my walk. This is my exercise for today. It is so beautiful. I wish I could stay out forever, but it's so I mean, the weather, you know, the breeze, sunlight, it just, you know, it brings out a lot of I don't know, some great mind stimulant when you're exposed to nature like this. Okay, and just enjoy it. Stimulates your mind, stimulates your body, your mood, everything when you're out in you know, walking in nature like this. This is one thing I look forward to every day, because I typically take a break and walk through, you know, wherever I am, through a park, through nature. So look at all this. All right, folks, and just within proximity to where I'm currently staying. And then you have the baseball field here. There's several baseball fields and tennis courts and place to play soccer. It's just a nice park overall. And like I was saying, this is like, you know, into the woods, and there's a creek up there ahead. So hopefully we'll see some snapping turtles. I don't know if some of you have never been in the US. Let me know if you've seen a snapping turtle before. I'm sure whatever part of the world you are, there's turtles. But here in the States, there are these snapping turtles that can basically, literally snap your finger off. They're so powerful. Their jaws are so strong that if they try to snap your finger off, they'll actually walk away with your thumb. So there, let's see if there's any of them here. And the funny thing also is that they're humongous. They've got a big back. Oh, I think there's one here bobbing around. Yep, there's one here with his head, but he's not actually the giants. He's just, you know, a tiny little turtle. But there he is. His head's bobbing up and down. And let's see over on this side if there's anything here. Typically you'll find a bunch of, snapping turtles in this pond because the water's gotten high enough so you can't really see them. But yeah, typically they're just here or somewhere there at the banks. I think there's one now. Yeah, I think there's one there. But since the water's high, they can actually submerge themselves under the surface, and you won't be able to see them. Yep. All right, let's try this side again. The guy didn't come out. He went under and stayed under. So anyway, we're gonna walk. We're gonna walk towards the street again, and then cut through the park to avoid the sound of the street. So what I was saying is that I was introduced to Virginia politics and U.S. politics when Dr. Jerry Falwell was around, and I kind of just took it with me, when I went to Eastern Europe. I tried to learn about their political environment in Europe, but they actually have more parties and more agendas and a lot more opinions on how to best operate and manage the European continent. So it was pretty interesting. And as many of you are aware, politics and markets tend to work hand in hand. But it doesn't always, have to be that way. But here in the U.S., there's this thing called separation of church and state. I started off about my religious background and upbringing. So in the U.S., most liberals support the idea that the church should not have any role in our policy as a country. And the conservative values would be the complete opposite. Everything, as most conservative would say, is directly related to the rights and freedoms that the Lord has bestowed upon us. He's given us His children to enjoy and preserve. So politics in the U.S. tend to bang heads quite a bit, especially among liberals and conservatives. That's just how it is, right? And I think overall there could be some good to it. There can also be a lot of bad things associated to those kinds of environment, because sometimes when people are limited or uneducated or simply have not really lived enough to help contribute to to policy, but yet they're too gung-ho, they're too entrenched into their value system, regardless of what party they belong in. Sometimes that's what creates a toxic environment, when people bang heads over things that they don't really fully understand or fully have experience or have expertise to opine on. That's just the reality of politics. All right, folks. So going back to separation church and state, do I believe in it? As a Christian, I don't. As an American, I'm kind of still divided, because I've seen religion in various forms. I've seen how it improves society, and I've also seen how it may manage to ruin a society. So politics is just that kind of environment, There are goods and bads to it, just like anything else. And the current situation in America, however, is pretty, how would I put it? It's fairly challenging, okay, folks, because we've become very extreme as a society and as a country. And extremism is never a good thing, especially in a population when you have people from all sorts of backgrounds. And on top of that, a market economy that is proving to be very problematic for those that don't get access or don't have resources to enjoy life as everybody else gets to enjoy them. So that's just how it is. Oh wow, this sewer thing, they're emptying the septic tank and it smells pretty bad. So wow, it's, hey, y'all doing? It stinks. Wow. Whew. Anyway, what I was saying is that, you know, there's the haves and the have-nots in America. And most of the time the haves continue to have because, you know, it's easier for them to create wealth. They invest, they hire, they promote development, they acquire assets. So if you're a have, if you belong to the haves, then you're going to be okay, regardless of what the current market situation is. Because most people don't really use their money to purchase. They use whatever the money that they've invested yielded for them to invest on another, you know, venture. So the money is not an issue for most people that have wealth in America. However, the ones that have not, they're living paycheck to paycheck. Some of them are unemployed. Some of them simply did not pursue an education, so they don't have a lot of resources. And unfortunately, you know, the liberals tend to cater to the have-nots because the have-nots need additional resources and support. And it's just, you know, a vicious cycle because most of the people that have not have much are basically trying to get access to some resources. And the only way for that to happen is if people that are liberal or have a liberal agenda provide that support to them. All right, folks. Conservatives tend to operate a different way. They tend to want to keep the resources amongst those that believe of conservative values. And most of you know I run as a Republican conservative. Do I understand both sides? Yes. And that's why I've decided to run as a conservative, because most of my beliefs are, you know, for the preservation of our country, our market, the rights of our people, you know, protecting our borders, creating more wealth, jobs, you name it. Pretty, you know, nationalistic in some circles. People say, you know, it's a bit too nationalistic, but I'm not overly nationalistic. I simply, wow, this is a strange way to park. What I was saying is that I simply would like to make sure that we preserve our values and promote our interests and help our friends out. I think that's important. Okay? So that's where I stand on things. Liberalism could benefit society if it's used properly. You know, But unfortunately, in politics, it's rarely used correctly because most liberal politicians are tapping into the extreme, members of society and the ones that are easily manipulated, by the liberal agenda. So those are the things that I don't quite like and respect about, liberalism. All right, but I do understand both sides. That's why I just kind of wanted to make sure that you guys understand that from someone who is, from a legal immigrant background and have been exposed to many world societies, cultures, religion, and be still a conservative says a lot about how we as Americans needs to be aware of certain conditions in our country that will help preserve our society. Okay? And those of our friends also, because it's not just America, that will need to be able to influence hearts and minds. I think everyone should be able to learn from each other and advance, each other's interests if, benefits their country and society. So that's my take on it. All right, folks. So, that's just I want to point it out with you and make sure that you guys are aware that it's important to be exposed to various school of thoughts. I'm not saying subscribe to them, but at least learn something new, and then make a decision for yourself. That's always been my position. Don't just say no, don't just push back, don't just walk away. Learn and understand other perspective and point of views, and then weigh things out. See if it makes, sense for the public to benefit from it or not. And going back from the original statement that I made about religion could be a good, marker or a guiding light if used properly. Okay. Oh, there's some people playing tennis. Maybe I'll stop and watch. So that's my position. Religion has a lot of benefits to society, but just like anything else, too much of it could ruin, progress. Okay, folks. So, just be mindful of that. What else was I gonna say? Overall, that's what I wanted to kind of emphasize. It's just religion has a lot of benefits to society. Keep everybody, in line and in order, and, contributing to society. But sometimes religion could be also a liability. So just be careful how you partake in certain religious influences. Oh, okay. So you got some folks over there playing teams or doubles. Then we have here that are playing singles. So just thought I wanted to point those specific subjects out, because at the end of the day, you, my friend, will have to make a decision. Evelyn Torres 1459, hello, thanks for joining me. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend and Saturday afternoon or morning, wherever part of the country you're located. If you're not located in America, whatever part of the world you're located, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thanks for saying hi. Anyhow, what I was saying is that things has to be balanced, okay? Because nowadays it's so much easy to become an extremist because of various online platforms that tend to influence hearts and minds to a very extreme level. I mean, I've written about these kinds of influence in my books and spoke about it in my podcast and video blog. So I don't. So yeah. So that's something that I want to point out there to you, because at the end of the day, folks, we, the current inhabitants of this planet, will eventually have to make a decision. Where do we want to be in the next 10, 15 years? And when we become too much of an extreme, it will destroy and, corrupt our society in various forms. Let's not be too selfish and not give the next generation of Americans a fighting chance to have a, good country and life once we're no longer on this planet. Okay, folks. So yeah, just wanted to make sure that I point that out. Anyway, what else is going on? Just kind of wanted to reflect on those subjects today, just because it's pretty interesting, I think, to consider things that most people take for granted. Okay, and what I mean by that is religion is a pretty much ingrained in society, no matter what part of the world you're in. Every people group was formed, and society was formed by religion. Okay, so it was good at one point, up until they start killing each other because of religion and because of extremism and all that, counterproductive things. Yeah, like I was saying, it's good to have religion, it's good to believe in a higher power, and it's good to preserve certain traditions. But what's not good is when you fight over it, you constantly create a toxic environment because of certain values and ideologies. In the year 2026, the world has seen everything, okay? I don't think there's anything new under the sun when it comes to society and values and the people group's mission. Everything's pretty much been tried and tested and experimented by society, by people around the world. And all of those global evolution, and because of the overall reach of the internet, social media, the influences of people from various cultures and groups, the world has basically leapfrogged itself, okay, from point A to point F. They didn't go to A, B, and C, okay, and D, E, through the progression. They basically just evolve to the point that it feels like everything's new, and everything will become new. Markets are evolving to the point that they're actually accelerating and outdoing certain countries and markets that are well, situated and are rich and powerful. Okay, folks, so that's just the situation. There are countries out there now that are leapfrogging other countries, wealthy countries, and they're advancing their capacity much faster than those wealthy countries. And it seems like that's the case also for religion. And it will keep on happening because of technology, because of artificial intelligence, social media. When I drafted my book, Faceconomics, the illustration of the social media platform in economic development, I had no idea that majority of my assessment and theories and hypotheses would become reality in the year 2026. I mean, it's just mind-boggling. There were people talking about Jetsons and, how Jetsons back then, when they had their cartoon show, was predicting what the world would look like. Some of them did happen. Some are in the process of happening. That's kind of how I feel with my books. Because I just wanted to, just kind of do creative writing when I was in college. Just wanted to, kind of develop a hypothesis on how markets will evolve using social media. And today it's here. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, folks, I just thought I'd point that out because right now more things will evolve, things that people never even imagined, never fathomed before. That's just the reality of things. So yeah, I just thought I'd point that out. But when you get the chance, please, consider buying our book, Faceconomics Like It. It's a little outdated now because I published it long ago, several years back, but it'll just blow your mind in terms of what I managed to put together and talk about. It's not a perfect book by any stretch of the imagination. It's not written by Hemingway, but it reflected on and showcased the potential of human creativity and imagination. All right, folks. So yeah. Anyway, please also follow our YouTube channel and subscribe to our Faceconomics TV YouTube channel. Tell your family and friends to subscribe to it. Follow our podcast. I haven't done a whole lot lately. I wanted to commit more to doing more podcasts, just that I'm kind of inundated with other projects. But now that one of the projects that I was working on is about to close, I'll do more podcasts in the next couple of weeks. What else did I want to talk to you about? Yeah, going back to religion. Don't get me wrong, religion is important in your life. It's important to believe in something, but I believe a personal relationship with the Lord is much more important than religion. Okay? Because religion could overly emphasize on the teachings of a person, a human being, interpreting what the Lord wants you to know and believe in. But if you have a personal relationship with the Lord, then you don't necessarily have to have a middleman to tell you how to talk and worship. Okay, folks. So, yes, religion is important, and in today's world, I think it's still relevant, but there are certain conditions that religion is no longer, or at least the practice of certain doctrine it's no longer relevant or applicable in society in the year 2026. So, and I know that there's a lot of theologians and pastors that would disagree with me on this, but just because, you know, there is a biblical verse that you can't be lukewarm when it comes to your faith. And I'm not telling you to be lukewarm or cherry pick what to believe in. I am telling you that sometimes the world, society evolves to the point that certain conditions in a doctrine, a religious doctrine, will no longer apply. Now, given we're not of this world, we're not supposed to operate, you know, as, you know, creatures of this world. I agree with that. But we also need to be mindful that in order for us to bear fruit, to win hearts and minds, you know, disciple with non-believers, that we have to make certain adjustments. And that's just the reality of today's world. So I don't think the Lord would fault us for trying to accommodate non-believers and trying to winning them over for Christ. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. Anyway, folks, thanks for joining me. I appreciate your time and joining me on this walk, on this beautiful Saturday afternoon walk. I managed to walk for 47 minutes today, actually. So we're moving a little slower than we did the other day. A few days ago, we managed to go and circle our neighborhood, which took about less than 35 minutes. So we're a little behind today. We're actually not really behind, because we average at 40 to 60 minutes. But it's a great exercise, decompress, walk, and enjoy the view. So that's just how I see things. All right, folks. Anyway, if you have anything that you would like for me to talk about and, you know, share with our public, feel free to message me, text me. You know, I'll be more than happy to talk about certain subject that matters to you, not just having this single monologue. Is what I say. I'm not really much of a talker. I don't know how I became a politician, because I definitely don't like to talk in front of the public. But it's gotten to the point that you know, you leave your comfort zone, sink or swim, dive in, and yeah, hope for the best. But always take risks, folks. You know, like I was saying before, in my other video blog, it's important that you go for your passion, regardless of, you know, whatever it is you'll end up landing in. To reach for the stars and you don't make it up there, at least you're landing in the clouds. So either way, you're learn something or gain something. Okay. Wow. So I feel good already, but as I mentioned previously, take time to enjoy the view, walk around, and yeah, appreciate nature. Okay, folks. With that said, thank you so much for joining me on this Saturday walk. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the weekend. Till we meet again, take care.